Hi, guys. Welcome to the Swipe Effect, episode 12. We just figured it out, actually. I thought it was 10, 11. Now that we're in the double digits, I'm pretty pumped about it. New things today. If you're watching on YouTube, we have a new backdrop, no longer at the kitchen counter. This is my roommate and I's beautiful gallery wall, still in my house. We also have microphones. I'll introduce my guest in a second. That aren't on, I feel like Mariah Carey a little bit. You obviously are not using yours yet. It's not in a stand. My guest today is my cousin Julie. Her name is Julie Pellerin. Here she is. You can say hi.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Whoever's, out
Tuning
there.
in tonight. Yeah.
Julie is my age. We are 33.
Maybe 34.
Maybe. Okay.
I'm a couple of months older. A little bit wiser, maybe, Karen?
Julie is 34. Probably a lot wiser than me.
At times.
We have grown up very close as a family. And one of the neat things, actually, which is why I kind of wanted you to come on for a while. I mean, we've talked about it for a while. Once we started the show, is that you and I have both had relationships growing up. We've been in long-term relationships most of our lives. And we're a big group of cousins. We're like 15, 16 of us. Yeah. And it's sort of like the ones that weren't actively dating growing up are the ones that got married, had their kids first.
So funny, yeah.
And the rest of us who were dating all the time are not married and don't have any kids yet.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy how that happens.
Did you ever anticipate it working out like that? I don't think. I mean, my cousins, your brother's babies, like everyone is so cute. Obviously, our family is the most beautiful out of everyone's. I'm a little bit biased on that. But you and I'm sure I didn't see us unfolding this way. I don't think my sister saw us unfolding this way. We've been really close, Julie, myself, and my sister, Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we were bringing boys to meet the family when we were like 12, 13.
And our parents were like, oh, so proud. My daughter has a boyfriend full time. Like, they're serious at such a young age.
But it's funny because my parents actually always told me, don't be too serious too young because you have the rest of your life to be serious with somebody.
And what did we probably say? Like, shut up, mom. Shut up, dad. I love him. We're going to be together forever.
Yeah. Then it was serious relationship after serious relationship. Yep. And now.
Now we're like cruising along. Yeah. Single in the city?
Yeah. Single in Toronto. Have been for a little while. Mm-hmm. Having fun.
Yeah.
But definitely.
There's a lot of fun to be had in this city.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely looking for something a little bit more long term, should we say.
Yeah, I like to think that actually I've had a few people on who are like, I'm newly single, so I don't know if I should be jumping back into something right away. You and I think have been single for longer periods of time. I don't take all my friends tell me I'm always dating someone. Because like all growing up, we've always been in full-time, long-term relationships. And now that we're not, are you having more fun? I've been having more fun in this city since I became single. Since I was after like a long-term relationship, I had so much fun after.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. Honestly, it's a great city to be single in. That's for sure. There's always things to do, people to meet. You never know when you're going to meet somebody and where you're going to meet somebody. Yeah. And I think
you go out a lot.
A fair bit, less as I'm getting older.
Yeah.
but yeah, I like to meet people out.
20s. We're 20. Mm-hmm. I'm like a new age 20. I feel like I'm actually 27 years old. If you could say your realistic age right now that you feel, is it 34?
No, definitely not.
Mine is not 34. No. 26, 27.
Yeah.
But then when I meet someone 26, I'm like, oh man, you are a baby.
Yeah.
Like I can't share that with you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about dating someone 26, 27? Oh my God. Have you gone on any dates with someone that age? I guess we haven't even got into dating yet, but.
Not recently, but yes, I have dated people of various ages.
Yeah.
Some that were quite a bit younger, some that were quite a bit older.
What's the oldest you've gone? Also, before we get into like details, Mom and Dad, Auntie Debbie, Auntie Uncle Rick, please don't take any of this in an offensive way. We are young, career-driven women in this city. I mean, you are like Julie's young. For those of you just listening, Jules is like, I consider she's a young, like strong female not progressionist, but like we are. You have a great full-time job. You've made and done everything technically on your own. And
Thanks,
achieved
Derek.
everything on your own. Well, I think I have too. Like,
yeah,
we've had boyfriends and girlfriends, but neither of us are married. I'm not relying on anyone, nor are you. And so, mom and dad just like listen away and let us just your daughter.
No questions afterwards.
Yeah, no questions. You can't talk about it afterwards, please. But I had Dad on. Do you remember Dad's episode?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Advice.
That was really good.
Was good.
Yeah.
So what's the oldest you've gone out with?
I dated a guy briefly who was about 13 years older.
Ooh.
But I didn't know at the time. He looked much younger, and age is one of those like awkward things, right? Like when you first meet somebody, to ask them their age or even like their profession, like
People could get offended or think that you're just judging based on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you like people asking you how old you are?
I mean, I don't really mind, but it's more like, why are you asking me? Like, does it really matter type thing?
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like if you have a connection with somebody, whether it's a romantic connection or
all of a sudden you're like, I'm 62 years old. And they're like, what?
No, I think that would be drawing
I just
the line.
look really old. I look really young. I've aged really well.
Yeah. But I mean, I think some people look a lot younger than they are and some people look a lot older than they are.
Yeah.
So I don't think like I really have like a set age bracket, but
what's your ideal? Like around our age?
I think for me, it's more.
I probably get along with someone a bit younger than me.
Yeah, you would care. Yeah. Not in a bad way, but like, I mean, you're like fun, you're active, you're on the go. Like you want somebody that can keep up with you, right? And
I probably want someone to make me feel youthful too.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm going to be like older and date like a 20-year-old and be like, this is my little happy slice of heaven here on my arm.
Yeah.
How would mom and dad feel about that? Probably
You never know. You never know. Yeah.
Ideal 30s? Yeah.
I think ideally it would be somebody like same age range, more so because they might be looking for the same type of things that you're looking for.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I hope to get married one day. I would really like to have kids. So if I'm dating up, I might be meeting somebody who has already done that or who might not be interested in doing that at that age. Just as if you're dating somebody who's younger, they might not be at that point in their life.
We've talked about that on other episodes where like when it's because it's something that's present, right? Like I'm not going to lie and say I don't want to be married and I don't want to have a family. That's my truth is that is what I want. That's what we want. And that's fair for us to say. When is it appropriate to ask if the other person's into that too? Or do we just assume?
I don't know. I mean,
how many dates are you going to go out with someone before you ask that question? And let's say they say something back to you like, oh, actually, I don't want any of that.
Yeah.
Would you waste 5-6 dates on them?
No. If
so
they're
sooner than that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's ways of finding that out also just in like having conversation, like
creeping social media. Sorry.
Like, you know, like asking them about their family and like nieces and nephews and like
getting onto their social pages. Yeah. I know.
Being a stalker.
No. Yeah. No.
Definitely not. But you know, like I think also like I don't know about you. Well, I do know about you that some of your friends are getting married and some of your friends are starting to have kids. So it's kind of, you know, how do they respond to their friends getting married and having kids? And I've gone out with guys that are like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like worst thing ever to have to go to a 1-year-old's birthday party. And it's kind of like, okay, well, now they've opened the door to ask the question if that's something
that's like where it's all happening. I find that a lot of my friends are either pulling that trigger, starting their families or whatever, or they're breaking up.
Yeah.
Like it's been a few years now that people are really starting to either look at themselves, look at each other, and say, it's been 10 years and everyone expects us to get married and everyone thinks we're going to be together forever. And then you get that feeling where you're not 100% sure. And the last thing, because of those social pressures, the last thing you want to do is break up because everyone expects the opposite from you. And you're like, what am I going to do? It adds a lot of scary feelings.
Yeah.
Even when it involves leaving someone.
Oh, for sure.
Around our age. Like it's a scary, difficult thing. Yep. And we encourage all of you women to do so if you're not, and men, if you're not fully happy. Like, I mean, you have to be. And the reason we started this show is because we're all in our 30s and single and everyone doesn't know what to do. And
Yeah.
how are we going to do this?
Yeah.
But we're all kind of doing it together, right?
Yeah. I mean, before moving to Toronto, I was living with my boyfriend in Montreal.
Yeah.
And, you know, you go from living with somebody and kind of sharing expenses and sharing interests and that type of thing to being completely on your own in a new city, you know? So obviously it's scary at first, but now that I've done that, I also feel that I don't want to be with somebody just for the sake of being with somebody.
Yeah.
So it has to be the right person that can add value.
Do you think you stayed a bit longer because of the fear?
Possibly.
In all honesty, like I would think more people would feel that than the waking up one day and saying this isn't for me and everything's peachy keen and we all split up happy and everything's fine. Like that must have been the scariest thing ever, especially coming to Toronto and having your relationship dissolved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so were you just like, I'm just going to go all in and see how this goes?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's cool to move to a new city and be meeting new people. And, you know, people ask as soon as you meet a new group of friends and stuff, oh, are you single? Like I have somebody to set you up with. Oh yeah, all the time, you know?
That's pretty flattering. I find one of the best forms of flattery is when someone says, I want to set you up with someone. Mm-hmm. It can be annoying.
Yeah.
Like really annoying because everyone's like, oh my God, I'm getting married, but I totally have someone for you.
Yeah.
You're like, okay.
Well, and I used to take it like I'm not a pity case. I can get my own date.
Sometimes
you know?
I do feel like I would feel like that too.
Yeah. But now as I get older, I'm like, sure, you know somebody? Set me up.
Sure. He has a job and he has a place to live. I think we're okay with that.
Yeah.
Plus, I want to trust my friends that are really good people also.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I feel like we all live busy lives and stuff now too. So it's like that whole screening process of somebody coming vetted to you, you know, takes some of the pressure or the unknown off.
Have you recently, Julie, a few days ago, you sent me this awesome video. Actually, it's really funny. It's a short film that two people in New York put together called Tinder. It's just called Tinder. It's a 5-minute film that it's like a sketch almost that they did. And at the end of it or whatever, you guys can, we'll link it to the YouTube file here. But like otherwise, what it ends up being is a very realistic, probably pretty common encounter between two people off of either Tinder or Bumble or whatever, where it doesn't go well.
Yeah.
But it looks like it doesn't go well from her side.
Yeah.
And then it ends up at the end being like from his side.
Yeah.
I have been dying to ask you because you sent it to me. And I think you went out on a date last week, right?
Yeah.
Has it ever happened to you that you like sit down with someone and there's something right off the bat that makes you know right away this is not going to be?
Yes, definitely.
Can you tell me what they are? Although you told us a really good story off camera before about that guy you had met abroad, right? It was actually English or whatever.
Yeah.
And he like spent his own money to come and visit you, but you had never been on a date before and you had never like even done anything. And you hung out for like 15 minutes and he did that and you didn't really know. Anyways.
Yeah.
So what kinds of freaky deaky stuff happened? Or are you just like, how do you get it to speed up? Have you ever wanted to like bolt out?
Well, so I've kind of changed my approach in the last little while because I do love hearing about people's stories and like their history and kind of like, you know, where they work and like different industries and like that type of thing. So it is cool to kind of just talk to somebody as if they're a friend. So I try and approach every date like I'm going out with like one of your friends who's visiting Toronto and you're like, hey, can you take this person out because I have to work type thing. Like
eliminate the pressures of, am I going to date this person?
Yes.
Wow, yeah. That's smart.
Exactly. So then right away, you know, like, well, you don't always know, but you'll know whether there is an instant connection. And sometimes there's going to be more of a progressive connection.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes there's no connection at all.
Right.
So when there's no connection at all, it's kind of like, okay, well, you know, I'm sure they can't be feeling it either if I'm really not feeling it.
I wonder though if guys have been like, so that was the best time ever. And you were like, what?
Well,
no.
and the reverse situation, like it could be that I've been out on dates too, where I think we had a great date and then I don't hear from them again. Right.
That's so weird. We had a great date.
So, I mean, I think it's
what do you do? Do you have a go-to like line or anything where you're
no,
like,
I mean,
fun? Like,
I don't usually
go.
I don't usually do food on a first date, like, because that's like a commitment.
I've heard that. Yeah. A whole meal is a long commitment.
It is. It is.
So what do you do? A drink or a coffee or?
Yeah, exactly. A drink, coffee. Sometimes it's even just been like meet up to go for a walk or like,
hey, that's
on a nice
cool.
day and stuff. Yeah. So, I mean, it's good. Chat a bit and stuff. And then you kind of have an out. Like, it's like, okay,
awkward goodbyes. Are you like, okay,
I used to be a really awkward goodbye. It's like, okay, high five.
Yeah. I would go for a high five.
Yeah.
And the guy's just like, okay, I guess I'm never going to call her again.
No, like, I think a hug is good. Like, you would hug.
Like an ass out hug when you're not interested. Like, turn your face, like point your ass out. That was so great. Like, barely touch him.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks so much for coming. Speed walk away.
Yeah. Oh, I've had a couple of dates where I've felt like running a little bit.
You could say it. You can.
But
I felt like walking very, very, very fast at a running pace away from them.
Yeah, I had one actually at Trinity Bellwoods a couple summers ago. We had played tennis, and it was very awkward.
That's a good date, though.
It was great. It was great.
Did he pretend like he was the best at tennis?
Absolutely. Yep.
Wrong. Don't do that.
He offered to give me pointers.
Don't do that either. Were you like, just so you guys know, Julie was a tennis pro for how many years? 10 years?
5 years.
You were only a pro for 5 years? You've been to camp your whole life. Your parents owned a tennis camp. My parents owned a tennis camp. Yeah. Tennis is in our blood, naturally. Shout out to Bishop's Tennis Camp and Match Point, although it doesn't exist anymore.
Good times. Yeah, good times.
But yeah, so he offered to give you pointers. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Were you like, thanks? And he wasn't the best ever?
No, like, I mean, he was athletic, like he had played before, but I mean.
But you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't be like, hey,
no. No.
I'm going to show you how to play.
Yeah. But I've also been told if ever you do sports on a first date, that you should never beat the guy.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I've been told that numerous times.
Because it's super emasculating?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Don't you just want to be with a dude, though, that's okay with it? That will not happen. But it's going to happen in your life because you're going to be better than any guy at tennis unless you marry a tennis pro.
Well, maybe. I mean, there's a lot
you're
of
likely
tennis
going to be better than everyone at tennis.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that it's like.
So how do you fake letting a guy win? You're like, oh, I missed it.
Yeah. I think you can tell. I mean, obviously you play a lot of tennis also. When you go out and you're warming up, you kind of figure out, are we going to play a match or are we just going to hit balls?
Just going to like rally and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever played a sport on a date.
I think it's great because I feel like there's like not enough time in the week to work out, socialize, see your existing friends, date,
It's different. Like there's only so many cups of coffee I can have, you can have. And there's only, tennis would be different and you enjoy tennis.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's hard to find, partners that
Did you tell him that and he knew and he suggested, or were you like, I suggest that we should go play some tennis?
Well, so we met at the tennis court. Okay. We didn't actually meet online. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Also fair.
Yeah.
So you're like, so I guess we'll meet back here next week.
Yeah.
That's a cute story.
Yeah.
How's online dating going for you?
It's okay. I've been kind of, more active and less active at times. I think in the winter time, it kind of makes everybody feel a little bit better, even if they're not physically getting out, that they have, at least an iron in the fire.
Yeah. I like that.
So I had a good friend that used to live here in Toronto who was great at dating online.
Yeah.
And she always knew kind of
I wonder what makes you great at dating online.
Well, she just always knew what app to be on and like the new apps.
She was like, the inventory is really great on here.
Yeah, but I think these apps, I don't know, this is my personal opinion. I
think
that's
what you're here for.
That they kind of have like a shelf life.
Okay.
So it's like, you get people that are really interested in actually dating and meeting somebody. And I mean, one of our cousins met on Plenty of Fish, met her husband.
Shout out, Krista. Yeah.
Which Plenty of Fish isn't really one of the it sites anymore because they would have met, 4 years ago or something? 4 or 5 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago.
So, and now it's kind of lived its shelf life and now it's
so there's always something new and better coming out.
Yeah. And I feel like there's people that end up joining some of these sites that are more just on it to see what it is than to actually meet somebody.
Right. Because they're like, oh, I'm still on Tinder, but I'm going to look into this new one and see what's going on. Or people just like dabbling. I've met a lot of couples that they love the game of swiping.
Yeah.
Do you have any married or in coupled friends that want your phone to swipe on your phone?
Always.
I feel like we should do a segment with that.
Yeah.
There are enough people that are like, give me your phone.
Yeah.
And they love it.
Absolutely. Well, and taking it a step further, I have seen married people on the sites.
No way.
Married people that I know on the sites. Yeah, which is discouraging also because for a couple of reasons. One, like obviously
That
like,
sucks.
you know, like it sucks for them and it sucks for their relationship, but then it also sucks for me when I'm looking for something
Of course.
more serious and, you know, they're just wasting time and they probably wouldn't even take action on it, but they just want to see whether they still got it. You know, like
that's when I feel like, do you feel like there should be more of a screening process to joining online dating apps? It's so easy. Like I can start a profile and you can be anyone and you can make yourself anything.
Yes.
But nobody, or for the most part in our generations, like we don't want to take the time to fill out eHarmony. We don't want to take the time to fill out even Plenty of Fish. Like it's a thorough breakdown of your personality. And we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We want like instant satisfaction.
Totally. I have done, I did do Match.com.
You did? Okay.
Which, you know, is a paid site that you do fill out a lot of information
really
and they send you,
like
your matches.
What you like.
But I basically saw all of the same people that were on the apps that are much quicker and, you know, less information to fill out. So I felt that if people were committed to going on to Match, that they were also on some of the other sites.
Right. So really you could just find them on a free one.
Yeah. So I actually didn't even go on one date off of Match.com. I was on it for 3 months.
That's very interesting because I always thought that once you invested a little bit of money and the time to do the personality breakdown, it's because that you don't want to do the free ones anymore. And like you're going to structurally get set with someone who's robotically matched for you and that'll be that.
Yeah.
But you've always told me, which is so endearing, and everyone tells me this too, and I think every man or woman should take this, is like you're actually not willing to settle. You've told me that.
Yeah.
It's the greatest thing, Jules. It's the greatest.
I think like there's a couple of reasons. Like I think it's kind of a little bit of a blessing and a curse because I think some people that know me quite well have been honest in saying that they think that sometimes I'm too picky.
Can be masked as that.
But I do feel, and you can attest to it because you've met a lot of my previous boyfriends, but I do think that I've had a lot of really great relationships.
Yeah, really good guys.
That didn't work out for whatever reason, timing, you know, different direction in our life.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so I think that the bar has kind of been set high and I do know what is possible.
Yeah.
So I feel that I do live a great life and I want to be with somebody who can add value to my life.
Yeah.
And maybe that's greedy in saying it, but at the same
How
time.
can that be greedy? We're holding a bar where I want to be respected.
Yeah. Have fun.
Yeah. Like it's
common
I don't
interests.
find that that's so out of the realm of like, oh my God, she's asking for a lot.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is
kidding?
people say you'll know when you know, like you'll know when you meet the right one. And I haven't had that feeling. So
I like that you say that too, though, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've fallen guilty to thinking I have that feeling because I think that I want that feeling.
Yeah.
And it's not real.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, for sure. He's the guy. And meanwhile, my whole family and everyone else is around me like, okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a step back here, Carrie.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like I've been in relationships too where I've thought, this could be it, you know?
Like...
but at the end of the day, you know, I feel that I'd rather be alone and ready to meet somebody than trying to make it work with somebody that Marge I really don't think it's going to work.
Our last guest, Marge, she felt like that as well. And I actually was like, it sounds like not the best feeling, but I feel like it would be for your own confidence and where you want to hold yourself. And I think that men should hold themselves there too. I think a lot of men like to drop it down a little bit because they worry that they're not going to be with anyone. So they end up, you know, getting together with any girl that gives them a little bit of attention because they fear that no one's ever going to give them any attention. Yeah. And I'm like, but why? You're a great, great guy. Mind you, just because I don't have a romantic connection with you doesn't mean other people aren't.
Oh, for sure.
You know, you've had romantic connections with great guys.
Yeah.
And I know that too. So like you said, if it's possible, which you know that it is, why are we like, just to say, oh yeah, I'm taking up my time with like someone I don't really feel like hanging out with, but
For sure. I mean, like there are times that it's like tougher than others. I mean, I had a summer of 7 weddings. Like I went to 7 different weddings and I went solo to every single wedding. And, you know, people are kind of like, oh, like, you know, like, should we ask her if she wants to bring a date or like ask her to dance or whatever? Or
guest, or
we'll tell her there's going to be 3 single guys that she can choose from, you know, like whatever it is. So it's definitely like it can be tough at times.
Thing I don't like.
But I also feel that I've developed really good friendships with people that I may not have developed as close friendships. And some of those being my friends' husbands. Just that, you know, they feel that they can kind of step up and take me under their wing and stuff as well, which is really nice to see. And, you know, I probably wouldn't have gotten to know them as well if I had been in a relationship. And so, you know, I think there is kind of like a silver lining to everything, but
7 weddings. Mine's going to come up like that. Like the year of 7 weddings. I've only had 1 or 2 each summer so far because like I said, most of my friends are splitting up or they're just not getting married at all, which is also reality of things that actually alleviates some pressure from me. Do you feel less pressure that less people feel the need to get married and they'll just stay together for however many years? Because it's so expensive to get married now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one of my good friends in Quebec, her and her partner are not married and they have a child together now. Yeah. And she always, her partner doesn't want to get married. Right. But she said, she goes, you know, I'm okay with that because I know that what we have is going to be long-term. And if it ever comes to the point that, you know, he's not happy or I'm not happy, like nowadays people give up on those contracts all the time, right? So it's like, she's like, I wouldn't want him to stay with me if he's legit unhappy just because of a contract. Yeah. So, I mean, I think like marriage still is important to me, but I think it's like more for like other reasons.
How seriously do you think people take marriage now? In all honesty, like people our age or younger or older.
Yeah. I think people like the idea of being married, and I think maybe, you know, it's changed maybe over the years.
Do people commit the way they used to? Because we were just talking about how, I mean, both of our parents are still together. Mm-hmm. It's obviously the stat is 50% now that people get our divorce rate. And like, I asked Dan what he thought, and he was like, oh God, no, nobody takes it nearly as seriously. And sometimes I feel that way too, that we treat it like a breakup. Mm-hmm. And what I want though, or the way I view it, and maybe you feel this way too, I'd like to know, if you're going to get married to someone, you're taking it into consideration that that's going to be forever, right? Mm-hmm. Or are you like, is it forever right now?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think it has to be like forever, ever. You know?
Yeah, like I'm actually like, this is a really serious, it's not just like, oh my God, everyone's getting married. And so I can't wait to buy my dress. And I can't wait to pick out where I'm going to have it done and have my dad walk me down the aisle. Like, I'm actually like, I don't want to get divorced to that person. I don't think anyone wants to.
Yeah. I feel like we're kind of like almost like in an in-between generation where people were still like getting married super young because they thought they were happy and they thought that this was it. And, you know, it was the right timing and they were the right age. Whereas like, I feel like people are starting to get a bit older now when they're getting married. And I think maybe it's because they do get to know themselves even a little bit.
I hope for that because that's my goal. Is that not your, like I feel like that's a common goal that we would share. And maybe part of the reason why we're not married at this age because we wanted to be certain. Yeah. I want to be certain. Yeah. And like, I can want it because everyone else is doing it. But at the end of the day, I know that's not the forever reason.
For sure. I think everybody's like meaning of marriage is different. And I think it's like sometimes like asking those tough questions, like, you know, like knowing the person's direction. I have a friend that actually has been dating a guy for 6 years and she just found out after 6 years that he no longer wants to get married and no longer wants to have kids.
No way.
And so she's taken a 6-month sabbatical and she's gone to travel the world to figure out whether she can compromise those things. But like, I feel like for me,
and
like,
he's asking her to do that. Like he wants to stay with her forever. He's just decided that those things aren't. That's a tough life decision for her.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
You love the person you're with.
Yeah, and I feel for her because, you know, she does love him and she thought she would have those things with him. So I think for everybody it's very different. And I do think that nowadays marriage, the idea of marriage is different. And I think that weddings can get blown out of proportion now. And it's more about the wedding than it is about the marriage. I've definitely been to some of those weddings.
like everyone I know that hasn't settled into a proper full-time job at this point, which is totally fine. People we still like discover ourselves all the time, are getting into wedding invitations, wedding planning, party planning, engagement parties, blah, 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 because the industry is like boomed. That's what's more important.
Yeah.
The pictures.
Yeah.
The videos.
Yeah, and I do think that it's like, you know, as much as people don't want to admit it, sometimes it's trying to outdo like the last one. So it's like bachelor party, you know, maybe in Vancouver or in Montreal, and then all of a sudden it's bachelor party in Vegas or bachelor party in Mexico. Miami. Then it gets to Mexico, then it's in Europe. It's like, when does it stop?
How many crazy ones have you been to where you've been like, oh my God. Like I've had a few where I never envisioned not going to their bachelorette party.
Yeah.
And then they tell me it's in Jamaica.
Yeah.
For a week, and I have to say no, and I feel bad about it, but I do feel like that's something you can't expect people to want to go on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've been pretty lucky with the bachelorettes that I've gone to, and but
Niagara Falls all the way.
Yeah, exactly.
A wine tour, absolutely on there for the weekend, 100%.
Yeah. And had an awesome time. And I think it's more about, just like marriage, it's more about the people that you're with.
Yeah.
Than it is where you actually are and what you're putting off on social media. And it's the people that you're with, and it's like a marriage, right? It's the person that you're with rather than putting on the show. And I used to tell my dad that I was going to have a big ass wedding.
Yeah.
But my view of marriage,
and that's changed.
Yeah.
What would be your ideal? Are you a courthouse kind of girl and then a party?
I've started to move that way.
Me too. Honestly, I have really started to move that way. Not only that, but I also don't have parents who are going to fund the entire thing. We come from Quebec where there's no such thing as stag and does or whatever those. I mean, again, kudos on everyone who's doing it because you pay for a wedding that way. But we didn't have those, and so having them here, like that's not my alley. That's not what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you because I'm happy. Obviously, I'm very comfortable having my cousin here. That there are a couple new segments or little questions that I feel like I've repetitively asked each guest, but like subconsciously repetitively asked them.
Okay.
So because I've always gone there, the first one is something I labeled so cheese, so cliche, but I came up with it called your first impression red flags or your first impression flare-ups. So something like, because our dating now is structurally based on first impressions.
Yeah.
Like solely based on quick first impressions from a photo, a text, a photo or a text.
Yeah.
It's either what he says, what he's written in his blurb, or what his pictures are telling me.
Yeah.
Have you had any major red flags?
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. Yeah. You see all kinds of things.
So many. We've talked about like profile pictures before.
Yeah.
Like really.
Profile pictures. So red flags in terms of like the
when you're first
date.
Swiping.
Exactly. Definitely bathroom selfies. I think selfies in general can, be misinterpreted, but then I don't see the need to be standing in a bathroom and taking it a step further into a public bathroom.
Have you ever seen a guy post a picture where he's in a public bathroom?
Oh, yeah.
Thinking, me too.
Yeah.
You see a guy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, nobody's in here for a minute. Let me just whip off my shirt and take a photo.
Yeah. But I've never been on a date who's posted something like that before either. So who knows?
So that's a red flag. But that's a red flag for you, right? So you're like, nope, going left.
Yes, absolutely. A guy that posts a lot of pictures with like one particular other girl. So like if he has a couple of profile pictures with the same girl.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit of a red flag.
It's a toss up.
Yeah.
Why is it giving you the impression that like maybe he likes that girl? Like,
well, I mean, maybe that he's looking for different things. So there definitely are people on online dating that are looking for either somebody to join or
I see.
There's all kinds of different things happening.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, you know what? If you only have pictures of yourself with this one other person, and in all fairness, sometimes in their profile it'll say, pictures with my sister, which I think
I've seen that too. Kid in my photo is my niece, not mine, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Dog isn't mine. Dog is my parents.
Yeah, exactly. So those would probably be like maybe two of my.
Have you had any first impressions in person red flags?
Sorry, one other one is the guy holding the giant fish with his
Oh, like showing everyone that he caught a fish.
Catches. So there's a lot of fish pictures, definitely.
Do you like? It's funny because our last guest, Marge, said that she loves a guy who fishes, and we were like, "What?"
Okay. Well, there's a lot of her type.
There's a lot of those big fish people out there.
Yeah.
Bass Pro Shops, give us a sponsor.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah.
So,
Those are common.
Yeah.
When they hold it with their thumb.
Yeah, and it's like they're looking all like fierce in it and stuff, kind of like, look at my catch. Like, I don't know what it represents, but to me it's
so anything in person where you've that video sparked my interest in person.
Yeah, definitely in person. There's been some interesting ones. I mean, I think sometimes it can be nerves that get misinterpreted.
Too many drinks, too many
I think somebody who, comes into it talking about themselves the whole time, it just kind of raises a red flag that they're trying to sell themselves rather than actually like get to know you and see if it's a joint
see if it's a match. Yeah, that's your attitude when you go in though. I love your new attitude of being like, you're just my friend and I'm showing you around the city.
Yeah, I mean, because then it takes the pressure off, right? So, but
lucky guys going on dates with you, because wouldn't you want to hit a girl that's like, what's up?
Yeah,
we're just gonna hang, like no pressure, because other girls are probably there going, so what do you do?
Yeah,
how long have you been doing it for? So are you management?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have your own apartment?
Yeah.
The interview thing is just, it's passe.
Yeah.
How else? That's our problem now, is we're trying to create like creative ways to make it different. Poor guys that have to do that for us, to be like, what? How am I going to stand out?
Well, like, and we've all been in situations, right, where we're maybe like, we're not in a career job or even a job, or,
you're maybe still trying to figure that out.
Yeah, exactly. Or like,
which also happens a lot later in life too.
For sure. Exactly. And like real estate market and stuff too. People could be, living with their parents or having roommates or whatever. And it's the situation that they're currently in. So it's not necessarily like a red flag. It's just that they, don't want to talk about it because they're not maybe comfortable where they're at. So I think turn-offs, that's not a turn-off, but turn-offs would be somebody who's talking about themselves the whole time and kind of feeling like they need to sell
red flag.
Yeah. And then, I think...
How many guys have you had show up that don't look anything like the picture you saw of them beforehand?
There's been a couple, or like that you're like, I know your profile pictures are like 10 years old.
You already know.
You took them.
We discussed that last episode. Within the last 6 to 8 months, we say your pictures should be like constantly. Do you update your profile pictures?
Yeah.
Yeah. To be current. This is what I currently look like.
And vice versa. I always post a full body picture too. I don't want somebody to think that they're coming into somebody who's 300 pounds or somebody who's 100 pounds.
Can you imagine a guy though, like, you only post headshots of yourself and you show up on the date and you have like a rockin' bod and the guy's like, oh my God, I thought she was going to be so different because she only posted pictures from like the arms up. People do that. Guys do that all the time. And then I had a guy at work tell me he showed up on the first date with a Tinder date where he was like, she was cute. Classic cute. Not a 12 out of 10, not a 6 out of 10, whatever. She was cute. So, and he was like, I guess I'm cute too. I don't think I'm like a 12 out of 10, whatever. He was realistic, goes on a date with her, and he was like, I was blown away. Like, her pictures did not do her justice.
Yes.
And I was like, that's the greatest first impression you could ever receive.
Yeah.
Like, dumb your photos down, so when you show up, they're like, whoa.
But I think that's the unfortunate thing about online dating that we've talked about before is that, like, I do feel like I've probably swiped the person left, which means I'm not interested. Who I will end up with.
Yeah.
And it's because you're only looking at the physical aspect and you're not looking at the personality. And
I mean, you don't really know it yet, right?
No.
Which is tough, because what are you supposed to do? Every guy you're getting ready to swipe left on, just say, no, I'll go right on this? So if you can't.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to be more open to it. And
have you altered your swiping tendencies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you first start, you're like, first picture, you're like, okay, I'll look at a second picture.
You get to the third picture, no
picture. And then you're like, maybe, but no. And you swipe them the other way.
Yeah.
Whereas I also have a friend, a male friend, who's told me that he's gone out for dinner with some of his guy friends, and his guy friends will pull out their phone and say, sorry, dude, I haven't been online all day. Don't worry, I'm listening to you. And they'll sit there and they swipe right the entire time to every single girl just to see who they're going to match with.
I know that that's a common tendency as well. I hate that because it makes me be like, you're not taking this seriously at all.
Mm.
Or you're sort of like, I hope that someone can see the good in me, and I'm sure all these girls are great. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, you're actually just like, which one's gonna reach back and like go out with me once and maybe have sex with me? Like, I don't know. Which I don't like at all. I find the guys that don't take time, like, I had a guy tell me once though that he was guilty because he was swiping all the time, connecting with a lot of girls, going on 2-3 dates a week. He was like, I changed my ways and I started swiping less. He's like, I found myself literally like, and he's not an asshole at all. He's just a very nice guy, really respectful and everything. He was like, I found myself swiping on a date with another girl.
Oh, no.
Like, I'm sitting there going,
yeah,
this isn't going that well. We're 3/4 of the way in.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to go all the way. So she's going to go to the bathroom and I'm going to whip out my phone and see what my next connections are because there's another one right around the corner.
Well, and that's where I think online dating has changed the dating world because it is so disposable.
Yeah.
And
first episode number 1, disposable culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, see ya. Move on to that. March said that too.
Yeah.
He started swiping less. And like you were saying, you've probably swiped left on the most ideal person, the best match for you. You've probably said no to in the past. Mm-hmm. And maybe your change to probably meet the better people would be to be more considerate to swipe right or whatever. He was like, I just started swiping less. And so that when I was out on a date with someone and I didn't have another one right around the corner, I was actually listening and looking into the person that I was with. So instead of seeing one little flaw that might irritate me, I've decided that like, I'm going to keep listening to her and then she gets better and better and better. Like, we've been often to cut a dude short at the bar. I know you and I have.
Yeah,
like, we go there, you come to me, you say something super douchebaggy, and I'm like, okay, whatever, bye.
Yeah.
You gave me some advice once that was really worthwhile where you told me, like, maybe don't blow off the first dude that comes to talk to you because inevitably there are other people looking at you at the bar, especially other singles that are thinking the same thing we are. And if we're standing there and putting our hand up to that one guy who's just trying and we're flattered, it's a vibe we set for the rest of the people around us.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw her blow off that guy. Like, she's definitely not interested.
Yeah.
She's probably not open. I don't know what I would say to her. The maintenance would be way too high. Mm-hmm. Like, it sucks that it's like an interesting game, but it's an interesting game.
Yeah. I also think that like guys nowadays that have balls to walk up to you in a bar and say hi, like,
you like immediately impressed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
it
doesn't happen the way that it used to. Even when we were like younger, even in like university and
it was like
first going out, it's like people would walk up to you and talk to you all the time. Whereas now it's like people are in their little cocoon doing their own thing, you know.
But then how does anyone expect to meet anybody?
I think it's like a confused
just over an app
area because it's like, if they're not online, and there's all these different apps now too, like Misconnections, like the different ones and stuff. So I think it's like people are like, well, I'm not going to walk up to that person unless I know that I've seen them online and they're available.
Right.
Nobody wants to be rejected.
I know.
Right?
It's a big problem. It's not a problem. It's a problem for our egos. We get shot really quick. Yeah. But Marge was telling us last week. And like, I feel like you detach pretty easily too. You could go on one date with someone and afterwards, if it didn't pan out, you'd probably be like, I'm on to the next. Like,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, one date, yes, but I think, you know, like for me, it's kind of like if I get to date like 6, 7, or double digits, it's really because we've kind of made it through that. Like,
you do have a connection.
Yeah, exactly. There is a connection there. Whereas, absolutely, like, I mean, within the first like 4 or 5 dates, like there's zero expectation.
Yeah.
I felt like I've gone out on great dates. And, you know, we're 3, 4, 5 dates in, and then all of a sudden ghost.
Yeah.
You know, and...
Yeah. Man, ghosting is so present.
It's, and I mean, at first I used to take it very personally.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, it's not the right one.
Yeah.
It's better to know now.
I'm happy to know. I would be happy to know now. It's a shot. It's probably a shot for them too. Have you ghosted? Do you do any ghosting?
I'd like to think I don't, but, I mean, for sure. Like, I think it's like, harder to confront somebody and say, you know, I'm not interested in another date or whatever. I mean, I do try and at least
be respectful and
afterwards. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nobody likes it done to them, so why do it?
You can be mad at you all you want. You're like, whatever. I was upfront and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Before we wrap the episode, one more new segment we want to implement as well, or I want to try or test out. you're the guinea pig. We did it with Jen Kirsch, actually, our dating expert, which I think you're a dating expert too, or we all are. My dear friend Chelsea, who was featured in our last episode, she's come up with this idea where I want to finish each of these episodes with each of my guests on asking them what their swipe type is. Again, super cliche. It rhymes. But a swipe type, in all honesty, like, it's what are your 3 or 4 or 1 or 2 would you want other chicks our age, other women who are in the exact same position we are, other men even, if you have advice for the men, because I have more advice for men because of what I expect out of it than I probably would for women, because we all act differently. But do you have a specific swipe type? Are there top 3, like, I look for this, this, and this, because that's what works for you? Or do you have a swipe type like this, this, and this would immediately put him into the no range? Like, we just went over our red flags, but I'd love to know what your 3 top.
I think since kind of changing my ideas of dating in the last couple of months, is my swipe type is, what's important to me. So 1, he has to have kind of multiple pictures, be willing to look goofy just as much as he can,
come off as real as possible.
Exactly. So multiple pictures are definitely necessary. I like a guy that can write a little bit, like he's not so lazy or quick to.
What do you mean? Say like writes a blurb?
Yeah, exactly. There's always room to write a little blurb.
Something. Do you prefer funny or serious or to the point, or?
I think a little bit of both.
Yeah. I always go for humor because I'm like, me, I survive off of laughter.
Yeah.
But sometimes the guy writes something on his where I'm like, oh, that's creative.
Yeah. I think either is fine. Yeah. I think as long as they write something, right?
Instead of just nothing.
A lot of people just
write nothing.
Don't write anything.
Or like not looking for one night stand. And a lot of time when I see a guy doing it, then I look at his pictures and he's partying on a boat, 5 out of 6 photos. I'm like, not looking for a one night stand.
Actions speak
right. But probably not right. Okay.
Yeah. So that would probably be
excellent.
The main thing.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks,
Did you have fun?
I had a great time. Thank you.
Julie Pooley, we're drinking some white wine here.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you so much for coming. I'd love it if you come back. We're going to change up the scenery again soon, I think, or our setup for the show, because if you have any suggestions, email us at theswipeeffect@gmail.com. Swipe Effect, all one word. We have an Instagram page, obviously. Follow us at The Swipe Effect. You guys have done a really great job at coming to us and following us. Guests have been great. If you want to come and be a guest, because I always want guests, shoot us an email at any point in time. I've had a couple of people reach out and they've been awesome, and I kind of can't wait to have them on. If you're even coming through the city of Toronto and you date online and you have one thing that you want to share with the world, please come and sit with us, because we'll have so much fun with it. Otherwise, family first.
Family first.